Right, we have a couple of examples here that are slightly different. We do need to take a look at them and make them move around a bit. So we have 7x equals 6x squared minus 5. This is kind of backwards from how we usually see it. Usually the x squared is on the left-hand side of the equation. It's on the right-hand side. But what's most important is that the x squared, whatever the number in front of it is positive. So we don't want to move it. We want to leave it where it is. So what we're going to have to do is have to move this 7x to make it go over there. So I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides. Okay, and when I do that, I'm going to get a new equation that is 6x squared minus 7x minus 5 equals 0. Although technically the 0 is over on this side, but just the way I wrote it, it doesn't matter where the 0 is. It can be on the left or on the right, as long as everything's on the same side. So I can go ahead and take this, and these are going to be my A, B, and C because there's no GCF here. Okay, so A is 6, B is negative 7, C is negative 5. Okay, so on the top goes A times C, which is 6 times negative 5, which is negative 30, and on the bottom is negative 7. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in here. So negative 30 divided by x, and negative 30 divided by x plus x. Okay, so I'm looking for negative 7 in the far right hand column. This is positive 7. Let me go down this way a little bit. And there we go. Negative 7 is 3 and negative 10. So I'm going to make a 3 over here, negative 10 over here. The last one, all of my a values were 1, and this time it's 6. So I need to divide each of these by 6 and then reduce if I can. In case you are not super comfortable with reducing, the calculator will do that for you as well, as long as you plug in this as a fraction. So alpha, y equals, enter, makes a fraction. Let's make it 3 over 6. Calculator reduces it for you to 1 over 2. So 1 over 2 is going to lead to my first factor. Do the same thing with the other one. Let's go ahead and make this negative 10 over 6. And that's going to give me negative 5/3. But remember, when we have a negative fraction, always push that negative sign up at the top. So it's going to be negative 5 over 3. And that's going to make my other fraction. If you don't reduce them, then the factors won't work. Okay, so let's go ahead and use our bottoms up method here. The bottom goes to the front, plus 1. Bottom goes to the front, minus 5, equals 0. So these are going to be my two factors. Set each of them equal to 0. Okay, over here, I'll put a little line here so it's a little easier to see where the work splits. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, which gives me 2x equals negative 1. I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides, which gives me x equals negative 1/2, and we'll leave that as a fraction. Over here, I'm going to add 5 to both sides, which gives me 3x equals 5. Then I'm going to divide by 3, which is going to give me x equals 5/3. So my two solutions are negative 1/2 and 5/3. And if you remember, we talked about in class the semi-shortcut, where you can take this number, the simplified fraction from our x, and just switch the sign. That also works. I will give you credit for that as well. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at number 11. It is already in standard form, which makes our lives a little bit easier. And there's no GCF either. 20, 1, and negative 1 don't share any factors apart from 1. So A is 20, B is 1, because there's an imaginary 1 in front of that x, and C is negative 1. So on top of my x is going to be negative 1 times 20, which is negative 20. And on the bottom is going to be 1. So I need factors of negative 20. I can change this just a slight bit. Oops. Negative 20 that add up to positive 1. So let's go to our table and scroll down, down, down. There's negative 1. There's positive 1. Positive 1 is 5 and negative 4. So 5 and negative 4. I need to divide each of these by a, which is 20. Okay. And I'm going to reduce these using the calculator just to make sure that I'm in good shape. Let's go ahead and put in alpha y equals enter. 5 over 20 reduces to 1/4. And then alpha y equals enter. Negative 4 over 20 equals negative 1/5, which we're going to simplify to negative 1 over 5. So those are my two factors, 1 over 4, negative 1 over 5, to make 4x plus 1 and 5x minus 1 equals 0. Okay. Set each of those factors equal to 0. 4x plus 1 equals 0. 5x minus 1 equals 0. Put a little divider here so you can see where the work splits. Here I'm going to subtract 1. So minus 1 gives me 4x equals negative 1. I'm going to divide by 4. And this x equals negative 1/4. Over here, I'm going to add 1, which is going to give me 5x equals 1. Then I'm going to divide by 5, and x will equal 1/5. So my solutions here, negative 1/4, positive 1/5. That's it. All right, so that's factoring. Took us a minute, but we got through it. All right, next is to write a possible quadratic equation in standard form from each set of roots. This was Wednesday's lesson, and it's basically doing all the stuff we did in these questions, but doing it backwards. So we need to have this equation, x equals negative 15, and x equals 4, and we need to make them equal 0. So we're going to do the opposite. If this is minus 15, we're going to add 15 to both sides, which will give us x plus 15 equals 0. This is one of my factors. Over here, I want to make this 4 0, so I'm going to take 4 away. This gives me x minus 4 equals 0. Here's my other factor. So my factors are x plus 15 and x minus 4 equals 0. Now I need to multiply these out to make them look like standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c. So I'm going to use FOIL. X times x is x squared. X times negative 4 is negative 4x. 15 times x is plus 15x. And then 15 times negative 4, you might want to use your calculator for that, but it is negative 60 equals 0. Now this is not standard form because there are 4 things here, and this only has 3. So we need to combine our like terms in the middle, negative 4x and positive 15x, which will give us x squared plus 11x minus 60 equals 0. Okay, so that's kind of what I expect. Well, it's exactly what I expect to see on your quizzes. Next, same business. Now, x equals 0 means that one of my factors is already 0, so I don't have to do anything. Okay. The other one, though, x equals 25, I do need to move this 25 by subtracting it from both sides. And my other factor will be x minus 25 equals 0. That's my other factor. So here's where that works out. X is a factor, so that's going to mean x in the front, and then x minus 25 equals 0 is my other factor. Now, you don't require as much multiplication here, but you do need to distribute the x into those parentheses. X times x is x squared. X times negative 25 is negative 25x equals 0. This is standard form. There's just no c value. C would be 0, and you don't really need to write that. So I'm just going to copy the exact same thing down here. There's my solution. Okay, now here, this is going to take a little bit more work, but I'm going to try and squeeze it in here. So actually I'm going to take this and move it over here. I didn't change it, I'm just moving it so I have more room to work. Now remember, when you have a fraction, you need to multiply by the denominator on both sides, which in this case will give us 5x equals negative 4. I need that negative 4 to be 0, so I'm going to add 4 to it. And I'm going to get 5x plus 4 equals 0. On this one, I need to multiply by the denominator, which is 2, on both sides. Okay. And then that's going to give me 2x equals 7. 7 needs to be a 0, so I'm going to take 7 away, which gives me 2x minus 7 equals 0. So here are my two factors. 5x plus 4 and 2x minus 7 equals 0. Now I'm going to use the FOIL method that I used up here. First, 5x times 2x is going to give me 10x squared. Outside, 5x times negative 7 will give me negative 35x. Inside, 4 times 2x will give me plus 8x. Last, 4 times negative 7 gives me negative 28, and then equals 0. Again, we want to look in the middle for our like terms here. Negative 35x plus 8x. Well, this 10x squared is not changing. Negative 35 plus 8, I believe, is 27, but why guess? Negative 27. So it'll be minus 27x. The minus 28 doesn't have a partner. There's my solution, or my equation in standard form. Last one has only one solution. Now remember, I'm going to sketch this down here again. Equations that have only one solution cross or only touch the x-axis once. Now this is the solution, but they still have to have two factors. So we're going to solve this once, and then we're just going to use it twice. So I need to first multiply by the denominator, which is going to give me 5x equals 2. Then going to subtract 2 from both sides, and I'm going to get 5x minus 2 equals 0. Now, this is my factor, but it's like this. It's squared, which means that we are going to multiply it times itself, which is not just squaring the first thing and squaring the second thing. It's all of the FOIL stuff we did before. So 5x times 5x is 25x squared. 5x times negative 2 is negative 10x. Negative 2 times 5x is also negative 10x. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Remember, negative times negative makes a positive. Now, we still need to combine these terms in the middle. They do not cancel out. They are the same sign, which means we're starting at negative 10 and we're taking more away. So negative 10 minus negative 10 is going to be negative 20x plus 4, and that's going to equal 0, and that's my final answer. And there you go. Good luck.